I'm rolling with it. Whew. Where do I even begin? It's 2024 and the Olympics are coming up in Paris. And one of the biggest events of the Olympics is track and field. The age-old sports, the first sports, the true test of athleticism.
Oh my.
You don't play track, you run it. That's why everything else is just a game.
Pulling him along. Said leave him alone. I taught my boy to finish.
Ridiculous! Ridiculous from the big man. Budapest delivers at the climax of day one with the heart of an American lion. Lyles has roared back to the top.
She has not taken this event under 51 seconds flat. Sonia, what are we witnessing here?
Absolute greatness.
You see, that's some really, really good advertising. However, track and field has actually taken a back seat when it comes to mainstream sports like soccer, football, basketball, cricket, you name it. Track and field is not up there. I've DM'd college athletes, Olympians, college coaches, and I have done my own research to attempt to delve into this issue and find the ultimate solution. I'm DC Agwu from Speedy Sons, and it's time to get the age-old race back into the race. Let's ignite our passions. So let's look at the first thing. Let's break it down. Let's go back to our roots. When it comes to sports, we need to look into the psychology of sports. What makes it entertaining? What gets people involved? And it might shock you. So I pulled up this research article from ResearchGate, and it goes into depth about achievement-seeking theory. When you see your favorite team win, you feel the same sense of achievement, or at least the same chemicals in your brain that you would get from achieving something of your own. Another big aspect that gets emotions riled up are rivalries. Real Madrid versus Barcelona. It's probably one of the biggest rivalries in sports. Spain's GDP, a big chunk of that is just Real Madrid and Barcelona. Yet, in track and field, you just don't see that type of rivalry. But since track and field is an individual sport, it's important to look at individual rivalries, like Ronaldo versus Messi, LeBron versus Jordan, Brady versus Manny, Sachin versus Don. These are all huge rivalries that people in the shop, in the pub, in the bar, or wherever will be sitting down for hours arguing. Who is better? Oh, LeBron's better because he can dunk from here. Oh, Jordan's better because, oh, the 2000s are too soft. Oh, Messi's better because he won a World Cup. Ronaldo's better because he can shoot it from range. You see, people argue about this. However, there's a rivalry that is so much closer than all of these. Johan Blake versus Usain Bolt. The difference between Usain Bolt and Johan Blake is actually kind of laughable. You see, let's say their personal bests were a cinematic movie, shot at the cinematic standard of 24 frames per second. On your marks, get set, go. They finish their race. Usain Bolt beats Johan Blake by 2 frames. The fastest a human can perceive anything is at 1/10 of a second. And that's the only difference. The smallest unit of our perception is the difference between Usain Bolt and Johan Blake. Yet the difference between them is so much more concrete than all these other rivalries. Where if you were to ask a super fan of either one, they would say they beat them and it's not close. I state my case. There are no rivalries in track and field. The closest thing we have to a rivalry are Jamaicans and Americans beefing over who has the best sprinters. It doesn't even matter. Why? Because team victories don't matter. There is no Olympic Cup for track and field. There's no big ultimate goal for track teams. They just kind of go out there and they hope they run well. They hope they present their country well, even though there's nothing to win for their country. It's so backwards. Teams won't even bring a full roster. If you run for Brazil, you won't have throwers, or at least as many throwers as United States or that of Britain. But for soccer or football, whatever you call it, there's the World Cup and everyone's invested. You saw the videos of the 2022 World Cup. You saw Messi, Mbappe, all those different people looking at the cup like it was the best thing ever. And if you are a Messi fan or you were from Argentina, when you saw Messi...
Little boy from Rosario, Argentina, on behalf of every little boy wearing his shirt. Messi on a million backs. But as he falls in love with the object in the world that his heart most desired...
It was beautiful to see. It was a huge moment. You don't have those huge moments in track and field. An aspect of the game that you're losing by not having team orientation is that feeling of having your local team win. It's that local attraction that really gives you emotion to the game. I was once in line at this restaurant and I saw this English guy. Now, I'm also a huge Chelsea fan, so I just want to start some banter. So I was like, what's your favorite team? And he told me Portsmouth. And I was like, why don't you like a team in the Premier League? Like, watch like Man U or like Arsenal, or better yet, Chelsea. And he said, I gotta support my local team. People don't just switch teams in England like that. They support their local team to the end. There's emotion attached to it. And something that he told me was that the FA Cup was the greatest sport competition ever. And I was like, why? And he said because it gives a chance for a small team like mine to compete with the biggest dogs in the country. It wasn't about supporting the team that you know was going to win. It was about supporting a team that you felt an emotional attachment to. By making track and field an individualist sport, you lose meaning to the game. You lose that emotion. To fix this is to introduce an entirely new system of qualification for the Olympics. Turn it into a tournament bracket with knockouts, with group stages. There are 206 national committees in the Olympics. Every one of those teams should be allowed to bring 2 athletes for every event. You have 84 athletes per team. And yes, I'm kicking out race walk. I'm going to talk about this for like 10 seconds. People who do race walk are really good athletes. However, they just don't compare to the other 21 events. You have a men's and a women's competition. Only, I would say like 48, 64 teams qualify for the Olympics. And then you allow top 3 of every event, just to keep it competitive. So if you're number 4, you're number 5. If they're from a country that's not overall good in track, unfortunately they won't make the Olympics. And although that doesn't sound fair, it's the exact same thing in every other sport.
When it comes to the fine details or the specifics, that can always be changed or altered. However, what is a standard fact is that we need to put more importance on winning the overall game. No one really cares about the kicker as much as they care about the QB. However, if a kicker wins the game for the team, the kicker gets the praise and recognition that they deserve. However, in track and field, if a pole vaulter gets a points to win the game, no one really cares. Why? Because no one cares about the point system. In fact, World Athletics doesn't care about their own point system. Think about it. A relay with 4 people weighs just as much as an individual event. Decathlon, or any type of multi-event, is 8 to 10 events. It weighs just the same. World records and national records, they don't hold weight when it comes to points. It doesn't even hold that much weight when it comes to the overall sport. You look at all these other sports, And a world record is a national phenomenon. Everyone's going crazy. People talk about it. However, in track and field, it's almost like we're lab rats. If you watch an Olympic Games and no records are broken, people say that was a mid-Olympics.
Someone who runs a 20-second 200-meter dash should be able to lift up a trophy. Why? Because track is a team sport. It's so much of a team sport that their jerseys aren't even customized. Everyone wears Team USA. Everyone wears Team Britain. No names on the back. You can't get a custom Noah Lyles jersey. And that goes to my second point. Making track and field more monetizable. All right. So, we switched locations because we're switching topics. One of the biggest things that are missing from track and field are the finances.
So, that being said, we're going to look into the differences between how FIFA carries their finances and how World Athletics carries their finances, as these are the two organizations that manage the respected sport. Now, FIFA has made, in the year 2023, $1.17 billion in revenue. And when you look at the finances that were published by FIFA, they calculate everything in millions. When you look at the finances calculated by World Athletics, they calculate everything in thousands. And a big portion of FIFA's finances came from licensing. In fact, EA Sports pays FIFA $115 million a year just to put FIFA on their game. Now, of course, in recent times, they cut the deal because it was getting too expensive. FIFA was pushing too hard on their next wage from EA. However, we still have to look at the fact that track and field is not making this money. There's no big track and field video game. And someone might be wondering, is it just running? Who wants to play a game and people just run? You run in FIFA, you run in basketball, you run in football. An aspect that track and field would edge over every other sports game would be the physical immersion of the game. I'm not saying like you're going to be actually running a 400 or anything like that, but I'm talking about more realistic running cycles. Have you ever seen like FIFA or basketball or any of these other sports video games? If you're a track enthusiast, you look at the running form. It's ugly, it's disgusting. You don't really put too much effort into the physical attributes or ability of athletes. You're also going to look into a big aspect of sports, which is the science about athletic development. There is so much you can do with track and field because you're focusing on the aspects of the sport that other sports don't really fine-tune on, and you can fine-tune it in your own game. Things like reaction time, things like precision, those things will create a skill curve, so it will attract skilled gamers and sports enthusiasts alike to love the game of track and field. Another huge aspect that is missing from their finances is broadcasting. In track and field, you have the Diamond League. Now, the Diamond League is supposed to be their biggest league, the best of the best. That's where Johan Blake got the second fastest 100-meter time of all time. It's where you see Usain Bolt put down most of his best times. It's one of the biggest events, one of the biggest leagues. Yet most people outside of the track sphere have no idea what it is. But when you look at the soccer equivalent, the Champions League brings in $2 billion a year just from broadcasting. The Diamond League, first off, when looking at their records, again, UEFA, they measured in billions. For track and field, they measured in thousands. Their entire tax report is measured in thousands. When you look at the World Athletics website, it's pathetic. When you talk about a sport that is a world sport, they only made $1.7 million. How is $1.7 million going to feed the families of the star athletes, of the best athletes, arguably in the world? Even for a lower level like NCAA, March Madness made millions of dollars. You can watch March Madness on ESPN Plus, on CBS, on Paramount Plus, on Hulu. Another aspect of broadcasting that is killing track and field is the way it's presented. Most people, in terms of prime watch time, they tune off when it comes to events like long distance running.
And I'm not just saying by a little bit, like, oh, I just prefer sprints just because I like to see people go fast. No, it's to the point where if I were to ask someone, do you want to watch a 5K race? They're gonna say no. They're gonna laugh in your face. Like, who's gonna sit down and watch a 20-minute race? More so like 15 minutes. Who's gonna sit down and watch that? No one does, right? Who wants to watch a 15-minute race? But do you want people watch all the time? F1. People watch cars go in circles. They can watch multiple F1 races. They can watch people go in circles for hours and hours and hours and hours. I might be exaggerating on circles. Like, F1 fans might get on me for comparing it to NASCAR. But at the end of the day, you're just driving. But to the fans, it's not just driving. You see the behind the scenes. You see the engineers. You see in-depth commentary. You see what's going on. You feel the intensity. You feel the emotion. You have coaches of personality. You have people that people want to see lose.
I guarantee you, anyone that's watching, you can't name one single famous track and field coach. Why? Because they get no spotlight. For most soccer enthusiasts, y'all know who Jose Mourinho is. Y'all know who Zidane is. Y'all know who Ancelotti is. You guys all know these big managers. You got, for my football guys, you know Coach Prime. You know the Crimson Tide. I don't have to say his name. You know what I'm talking about.
You see women's basketball. Women's basketball got on the rise because of the beef between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. You had Angel Reese being a more flamboyant player. She did that little thing to Caitlin Clark during the game. People got outraged. There's a whole group out there of Angel Reese haters. And on the surface, it's like, oh, she's getting all this backlash. But it's making her money. It's getting her views. It's getting more engagement. If you post anything about Angel Reese, you see a whole bunch of GIFs and comments with Caitlin Clark. You had Noah Lyles break an American record. ESPN said nothing. They said something when he went on and said,
you know, the thing that hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA Finals and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States?
Then there was some buzz. You got a whole lot of backlash from the basketball community and the track community.
He just came across as flagrantly ignorant, and that needs to be said.
Yet, it gave buzz to the sport. Why? Because emotion drives views. But when you watch a live track and field broadcast, you don't get that. You don't get the full story. A lot of times there is no story. Broadcasting is the difference between just watching people move and feeling the game.
But when you have an individualized sport, people are only going to be there to watch one person. So they only need to watch like 5 minutes of the entire broadcast. Versus if I'm a LeBron fan, I only care about LeBron James. If I want to watch basketball, I have to watch the entire game. Why? Because LeBron's obviously playing the entire game. Or if he's on the bench, what the players on the field are doing are affecting him. But when you have it where the players of other events, where you have it where the 100-meter dash doesn't affect the mile or doesn't affect high jump, there's no reason to commit to these other events. There's no reason to care about an overall goal. People will be more tuned into the broadcast if there was a big Olympic Cup people held up, because it's a team sport. Track and field is so much of a team sport, in fact, that every single jersey is the exact same.
And here's a problem with this. A lot of big teams, organizations, leagues, national teams, they earn a lot of revenue by selling jerseys. Wilt Chamberlain's jersey, the one he used to score 100 points, goes for $4.6 million. Noah Lyles, in his track jersey, broke an American record. He broke Michael Johnson's record. Michael Johnson, before Usain Bolt or Tyson Gay or any of those guys, was the GOAT of track and field, at least on the sprint side. Because of how replaceable those jerseys are, he felt that he could just rip this open and throw it away. The jerseys are not valuable in track and field. Imagine if LeBron James dropped an 80-piece nugget on the Nuggets and then ripped the jersey. People will lose their minds. The media will be in shambles. And although it's just one instance, it represents the whole that we're losing revenue in track and field by not going after monetizing on every aspect you can monetize. When it comes to licensing, EA paid $150 million. I kind of mentioned that it's only for the title, but it's also for the badges. It's for the names and the faces and the likeness. When an athlete signs their contract, a big part of that is their likeness. Even in for instance, Ibrahimovic, one of the best soccer players in the world, honestly my GOAT, he saw that his face was in FIFA and he said he did not sign up for that. And then EA, in a comment, I think it was on Twitter, they said, check your contract. And then Zlatan actually checked his contract and saw that it was a part about it. So a lot of these track athletes, the IDM, the pros, the college athletes, they want exposure. But even at the highest level, if I want to be you as like a little kid, I cannot. There's no branding, there's no licensing, there's no jerseys. And a big part about there's no video game, and that kills revenue. At the end of the day, if you're not generating money, who cares to expose you out to people? The reason why these football players, these basketball players get away with everything, they make the school money. You have people who've never even been to Duke. They're going into bars. They're arguing with random UNC fans that Duke's the best school in the world. They've never stepped foot in Durham. They've never been to Durham. Yet, they are hardcore Duke fans. They make them money. They buy their merch. They go to Walmart. If you go to Walmart in North Carolina, you're going to see Duke merch, and they buy it. When you go to a track and field meet, you can't even watch every single event. My sister is a D2 athlete. She's a thrower. When I went to watch her throwing event, it was isolated. It was in a whole nother part of the facility. I could barely watch the other events. I can't sit down and watch an entire track meet. You can't do that. Like you can with golf, like you can with tennis, like you can with basketball, football, soccer, cricket, you name it. You cannot do that in track and field. So not only are you killing broadcasting, you're killing ticket sales because of how you present the game. Where if you go to the event, everything's not placed and formatted in a neat way. There's a lot of wait time. No one wants to go and sit down for an entire track meet. You'll be out there for 7 hours. They're like 10, 15 heats. You don't make any money. Aaron Brown. This guy was complaining about how hard it is to get into pro events. This is one of the fastest men in the world. The transition between college level to pro level is nowhere near as smooth as it is for basketball and football. There's no big draft day. There's no big debating. There's no big betting on who goes where. And a huge aspect you lose on betting about who goes where is just a $14 billion industry in just the United States. Another big part of monetization, which isn't as holy, but it's a huge thing in terms of the economy of sports, is sports betting. It's how you get people more engaged. It's how you get people to be more involved on the day-to-day life or the day-to-day training or the outlook of an athlete, to get invested into an athlete. $14 billion, and track and field is getting none of it. Why? Because World Athletics has banned
betting. So not only do you have it where you're only invested in one athlete, you're not invested in the whole. There's bad broadcasting. There's no outlet for merchandising and licensing like names on the back or video games. You also have it where there's no money on the line. There are people who are literally in church praying on their knees that LeBron misses a game-winning 3 just so they get a payday. No one's doing that for track. I've never seen anyone stress about track except the track athletes themselves.
Can you compare it with horse racing?
With horse racing? Yes. If you ever see someone who owns horses, just know they are loaded. To be an equestrian and actually maintain a horse is extremely expensive. So a lot of people who are really invested into horse racing, they have loads and loads and loads of money. And they bet that loads and loads and loads of money on one horse. So, how do you fix all of this? How do you make it where track and field can become a #1 sport of the likes of soccer or cricket? How you do it is by making it where if I'm from North Carolina, I'm supporting UNC or NC State, who has a really good distance team, by the way. I'm there for maybe 3-4 hours. When the team wins, there's a celebration, there's a trophy. I go home, I open up NCAA World Athletics Edition. I play with my favorite NCAA team. I'm out here running with Duke. Then I go to sleep, and then the next day, it's like, oh wait, there's a Diamond League game on TV, and I'm invested in that. I'm trying to see which team's gonna win the Olympics. I'm picking which athletes I think are gonna perform. If you can't have a format like that, the sport won't succeed. If you can't have it where people want to go to these meets, it won't succeed. If you don't have it where people are invested in the teams, it won't succeed. If you don't have it where they can sit down and watch an entire meet, you lost them. At the end of the day, track and field is the oldest sport in the game, has some of the best athletes on the planet, the strongest, the fastest, the best jumpers, a lot of skilled athletes that aren't getting exposure. They're not getting as much money as they want. You have thousands of the best athletes on the planet that no one knows and is being managed horribly. How you fix it is by making it more entertaining. Maybe adding skill events, maybe adding special events. That's entertaining, that's different, it's spontaneous. You can add into the sport. You can get better angles, get better commentary. No diss to flow track, but it's a diss to flow track. Their commentary is boring. Make it more monetizable, and you're on the verge of having track and field as a dominant sport. If you want more information about this entire research project, check the Speedy Sons website, where we posted the entire research article and our sources and more information about how to fix a game of track and field. If you have any more types of videos you want us to make sure you tell us in the comment section below. Or if you have any agreements or you agree on anything, please let us know. Or if we're wrong. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a guy. The guy who helped me with the research article, he's just a guy. Let's be helpful. Let's make a community. Let's ignite our passions. This is DC Agua, and we're out.
All right.
We can run and chill, girl. We don't gotta talk. Run a couple miles and hit up Dairy Queen. We could be like the Eames, that would be a dream.